Thanks so much for coming, everyone. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce my friend and a very inspiring woman, Maureen, who, as you will have seen from the invites that got you here in the room, went through a lot of difficulty from a health perspective and lost the ability to speak, read, and write, and relearned all those skills that I think so many of us take for granted on a daily basis. So we're going to get to hear a little bit about her story today. I'm really excited to talk to you here in front of all my colleagues, and look forward to hearing the questions from you guys as well. So Maureen, or I'll call her Mo, that's MoStyle, Mo. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about MoyaMoya, the disease that you were diagnosed with, and kind of what that means.
Okay, so yeah, I'll tell you about MoyaMoya. I'll tell you about my rehabilitation, and I'll tell you about my struggles with technology, and about having fun with style and fashion and getting dressed. So yeah, so I do get a little bit mixed up on timelines a little bit. I'll blame the stroke. But so 3.5 years ago, I had brain surgery for MoyaMoya. So MoyaMoya is quite a rare disease. It can be in the family, or it can be, what's the word, you can contract it. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know what happened. I don't know anyone in my family who has it. So it blocks the oxygen getting to your brain. So I had 50% blockages. So for about, probably for about 3 or 4 years, I was unwell. I was in and out of the doctors. No one could tell me what it was. I felt like a complete hypochondriac. My skin kind of went a funny color. I lost weight. I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't remember it being this hard to push a buggy. And my kids were like, they were like 1 and 2, like only 1.5 years. And I would lose the power all down my right side, from my toes all the way up to here. And then, yeah, like I said, I went to a stroke clinic, to a neurologist. They told me I had this thing called hemiplegic migraines, and that the symptoms would mimic stroke. Anyway, long story short, I ended up in Beaumont because I went for a scan for bad headaches, and my doctor phoned and said, you need to go straight to Beaumont. And then I think within about a half an hour, I heard of MoyaMoya, which I'd never heard of. And the only way you can treat it is through brain surgery, because they need to create pathways in to let the oxygen in. Mm-hmm. So, does that answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. So obviously that was very scary.
Yeah, really
scary
surreal.
Time, and I'm sure for you and for your family.
Yeah.
So I know that you had this brain surgery to kind of remove those clouds and blockages in your brain. What was it like to wake up then in intensive care?
It was great, because I woke up, I couldn't have been happier. So yeah, and then I think when you have brain surgery, and then obviously I had a stroke during it, so when I woke up, I couldn't speak or read or write. And my first thing was to think, well, at least I'm going to see my kids again. And I wanted to be able to tell all the worried faces, my family and friends and stuff, that it's okay, I'm here. Mm-hmm. Because I know that sometimes with brain surgery, the personality can change. Mm-hmm. So I'm really lucky that didn't happen to me. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say, look, it's all right, it's still me, I'm here. I just can't tell you that I'm here, that I'm okay.
That must have been really frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating set in much later.
Yeah.
No, I was just, like I said, I was really, really happy to wake up.
And tell me a little bit about that later piece. So you were a teacher before this. I know language was a huge part of your life. As you mentioned, your 2 children and your husband. How did they all react to kind of your new state and the recovery that you had to go through?
Well, my kids, I think it sent my daughter a little bit kooky, because she was 5, I think, or maybe a little bit older. Anyway, like I said, I'm not great with time. Ewan, I think, was 3. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would make sense. So she was more aware of what was going on. Mm-hmm. So she used to hate coming in to see me. And I remember my mum saying, "Oh, put on a scarf," and I was in a wheelchair and sitting up. First of all, I was in the bed, but they propped me up in a wheelchair, put a scarf around to hide the tubes. And when she came in, I couldn't really speak. So it was like a lot of, sign language, and it was lovely to see her, but I really felt for her because she didn't, it really threw her. It was obviously so strange seeing me in that environment. So she was a little bit traumatized, I think, but I was in hospital for a month, and then I came out, went home. My language came back very quickly, which was great. And then, so over the next 6 months, there was quite a bit of change. Like I was able to do more and more for myself. But yeah, literally, I didn't even know what A was. Like I would try to roll that around in my mouth and go, "Hey, I don't even recognize that." And same with numbers. So I had to learn to read and write from the absolute beginning. So
talk to me a little bit about that, because I think, if we learn these skills at such a young age, and to try and relearn again kind of how to read, write, and even speak, and remember kind of this aphasia that you're going through. What kind of challenges did you face, and what was the sort of recovery plan or treatment? How did you get yourself back up, as you said, with language coming back very quickly? How did that go for you?
Well, I had a really good motivation, like my children, and plus, for myself, communication is such a basic part of being alive. I mean, I know there's people who are deaf and blind and dumb, but for me, being able to speak, I can't imagine not being able to speak. So for me, I went home. It took a while for the services to kick in. Quite frustrating, and took longer than it probably should have. But we hired a tutor to come once a week, or every day, I can't remember. And then, other than her, was my mum helped me every single day. We do like an hour and a half. And that was quite tiring because at the beginning I used to have to sleep for like 3 hours on end. It was exhausting. But I was very motivated. So, and then I ended up in Bagot Street, speech and language. So I used to attend there once a week for like an hour. I'd get homework, I'd come home and do that. So
back in school?
Back in school, yeah.
Yeah.
And after being a teacher, and that was my job.
Yeah.
To help people to read and
learning
write.
Alongside your kids again, right? So when you're thinking about that, then I know that you now rely on certain technologies and so forth. We've had a week this week in Google. It's called Accessibility Week. As a company, we're really trying to make sure that we design products that work for everyone, no matter what their ability or disability. And I know that that's been an important part of kind of your getting back up to being able to text me about this.
Yes.
And maybe talk to us a little bit about what you're using and how that's gone. And
Okay, so after about a year, I kind of realized that my brain was going a bit faster than my actual reading and writing ability. Like I can read and write, but I can't do it for pleasure. And so it became obvious that I needed some more technology assistance. So I got in touch with the NCBI, the people who work for the blind, and they were amazing. And I did feel a little bit of a fraud because I'm not blind, but they were really good. And they said, "Yeah, no, that's okay, we'll help you." So I went into them and they helped me with KNFB Reader is the thing they used, and Seeing AI. So they're the two things I really got from them. And
what did they do?
So a KNFB Reader, you can take a photograph of text and it reads out to you. Seeing AI does pretty much the same thing, same book. And then I got a smartphone, so I'm not very good at technology when it comes to technology, which is quite funny because I'm so reliant on it now. But like names of things I might forget. So like my phone will, it'll speak to me. I can press a button and it'll speak to me. So when I'm reading text, if I'm not too tired, I'll just do it myself. But sometimes I'm tired and there's too much information, so it'll just read it out to me. And then I can use the speaker on it to dictate texts and emails and things. So they're the things that I kind of use the most. I have a long list of things that I would like to be able to do, but
maybe tell us a little bit about that if you had a wish. We do have some programs like Google Translate and stuff that do a lot of the things that sound like you were working on with the Council for the Blind. But if you had a wish for technology for somebody like you that's struggling with the language piece again, what would that be?
Well, when I was thinking about this, I was like, what I really want is a virtual personal assistant. For me, because I'm a personal stylist, so I style men and women. So I go and do wardrobe analysis in people's homes. We do in-store shopping, but I would love to be able to do online shopping, and I'd love to, I'm sure there is technology out there, but I don't know about it. So I'd love to find out more about that, or maybe something that could read my scrawling text, my writing. So, like things like that.
Yeah, just things in general that will help kind of guide you through processes and.
Or maybe a dedicated system that will actually help people with disabilities like mine. Maybe they exist. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's lots of people working on things and they're not always discoverable. And then they're not always fit for purpose either. So I think, there's obviously a lot of challenges. You were talking a bit earlier about kind of the support that you got from your family and kind of the frustrations that you were feeling. Did you ever at any point feel or observe that there kind of were stigmas or people were reacting differently to you because of your disability?
For me, not really. I think because you can't see, it's not immediately obvious. So it's a little bit of a hidden one. So I think I haven't really experienced the stigma thing. I mean, I have stigmas, but I haven't been treated differently. But I guess sometimes, like, I remember when I used to go on the bus at the start, and I'd be like counting at my coins, and I'd be like, Jesus, and I'd be like, why is this girl so slow? Like, because you can't see it, so you just have to always be aware that when you're dealing with somebody, that there might be issues. And even if you don't have a disability, I mean, we all have good days, bad days, so just be generally aware, Is that what you...
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And I think you were saying as well that there were days of frustration with yourself. It may not be visible for other people, but you knew what was going on, that you weren't as quick as things that you used to be.
I know the ins and outs of what is broken and what's not broken.
Yeah.
Because I had to do a lot of tests and it made it really clear. And when I first did that, I really struggled. I had to do like 3 weeks of testing. I was kind of like, oh my God, those parts of me are so broken and these parts are not. So it took a little while to kind of come to terms with those. But then I think knowing your strengths in life and your weaknesses is really important. So then at least it gives you the power to use the bits that you are good at and, seek help for the ones that you're not. So I think that's kind of a life lesson for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. And I was thinking about you and how I would react to something like that. And I can just imagine that there are those really dark days when it's like, I'm just so frustrated with myself. How do you build yourself up when those things happen?
I think resilience-wise, I think I'm good at, I gotta, I'll have days and I'll be like, oh God, but I pick myself up pretty quickly. I don't know if that's my personality or it's also I don't have a choice, but I think that's my nature as well. It's just a little bit of the fighter thing. What are you gonna do? You're gonna sit back and be overwhelmed? Not what I want to do, no.
If you were thinking about that, obviously you've been through a lot of adversity personally. If you're thinking about kind of like life lessons more generally that you've learned or from kind of going through and bouncing back, that you would like people in this room to take with them, what might you suggest?
Well, I think I was surprised by, I would have been kind of shy enough and growing up, and I would have been quite, I wouldn't have really have wanted to draw attention to myself, but I think when something like this happens, but even if it doesn't for people, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't put yourself out there a little bit, like step outside of your comfort zone, I think is really important. and like never stop learning, never stop taking on new challenges. I mean, it can only be good. You can only learn more about yourself, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a great lesson, and I know for you, so I want to talk a little bit about your reinvention and success as well. So, you know, having been a teacher before, obviously going through this this challenge in terms of losing a lot of your capabilities, you couldn't keep teaching for obvious reasons.
I didn't actually want to.
Well, that was probably convenient then.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe strokes are never convenient. But let's talk a little bit about how you kind of went through this reinvention and kind of found a new passion and a rebound for yourself and set up a whole business that's going very well. You can see your amazing news articles here.
So I guess not immediately when I woke up, but I think because it was such a major thing, I just immediately thought, you know what, life is for living. That's my new motto, life is for living. Don't wait, don't sit around, just enjoy the moment. So for me, I've always been quite creative. Like I done lots of art classes. Fashion is a real love of mine. And even from the time I was really, really young, I remember, maybe everyone's the same, but I just was always noticing shapes and kind of saying, I think people do, but I think knowing your shape and dressing to your shape and having fun with fashion, and I mean, I know you might be carrying some weight, or you might be bigger, or you might be smaller. There's so many. We come in all different shapes and sizes, but I think dressing to your size and shape and make the most of it, of your highlights. You know, flaunt them, the bits that you're proud of. Show them off, and it can be like, for me, it can be as simple as putting on a colour that makes you feel good, or lipstick or earrings. Like, I'm a big fan of earrings and accessories. I'm not sure, am I answering that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think, you know, obviously you had a passion for fashion.
Yes, passion for fashion.
Passion for fashion. And you're kind of, when you're coming to figure out that, okay, maybe I'm going to make a business out of this. Where did you start from the business and setting up the business side of things?
One thing that I learned, or I realize even more now, or maybe it's just for me, but I think we are social creatures, and I wanted to be useful. So I started coaching gymnastics. My daughter does gymnastics. So that was my first step. And then second step, when I got a bit more confident, I asked my sister to write a letter for me to Dress for Success.
They're a charity, right?
Yeah, and they help women get back to work. So
maybe just tell the audience a little bit about the Dress for Success.
Yeah, Dress for Success.
Not everybody's familiar.
I think it started like 20 years ago in San Francisco. Sonia Lennon, the fashion designer, brought it to Ireland about 9 years ago. So it's a charity-run thing. They offer like HR, coaching services, and then styling. So if you're going for an interview, you can go to Dress for Success. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the men here. Unfortunately, it's only for women.
But there are other charities for men as well,
okay.
Right?
Yeah, because it would be great to have the same thing for men.
Yeah.
But you can go, we'll style you for free. If you get a job, we'll style you, give you 3 more outfits for work, for your job. So they took me on as a stylist, and I was in there like, I don't know, it felt like about a week, but maybe it was more. And I was bitten by the bug completely. I love it. I love the talking to people. I love the empowering, building confidence, helping people getting dressed. And then I thought, you know what, I could do this. And then I'm still with them. But then I asked my family to help me. My sister and my brother are graphic designers. So my sister and brother helped me set up a website. My husband, I'd say I drove him absolutely mental, asking him to help me go, how do you do this? What's Instagram? All that kind of stuff. So I started literally at the beginning, and Instagram is really important for me because I'm visual. So I love that. So I started from there.
And how is business going now, and how are you kind of promoting your services?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. So I started off with women. Now I style men as well. But it's mostly word of mouth. And then recommendations from clients, testimonials, bit of networking.
Toxic Google.
Toxic Google. Sign up, please. So things like that. Yeah.
And I know, so I did you do a few different things in terms of kind of your styling and personal shopping, and I actually did a closet consultation with Mo a few months back, and personally for me it was a bit life-changing because I got rid of so much crap that I had been hanging on to that just really didn't suit me, and found things that I'd forgotten I had that really did, and kind of gave me a new pep in my step. Certainly felt that it was great and also a lot of fun because you're a lot of fun. But can you talk me through a little bit about the services that you provide and kind of what your clientele go through when they work with you?
Okay, so my very first client, I met her at a swap shop. I'm a big fan of swap shops, brilliant. I met her at a swap shop to do with Dress for Success, and she was my first client. And I went to her house and we did a wardrobe analysis, but she found the whole thing very emotional because you're looking at like 30 years of clothes and all the associations, all the things like past relationships or life-changing moments or memories. So she actually found it really overwhelming. And that has stayed with me because I think when somebody actually makes the call, they might be thinking about doing it for a long, long time, may never do it. But when I actually get the phone call, it's like somebody's actually made the step to actually do something, to empower themselves. And I think the service is not expensive, but it can be quite life-changing. And it can give you a different outlook going forward, and it creates like smarter shopping, less waste, a renewed love for fashion and for style, and I give tips about how to mix and match what you already have. I go through everything from shoes to accessories to clothes. I take pictures, we do a reorg. So it's quite like therapeutic from what I hear. Yeah, it's like a spring cleaning. Yeah. And from what I hear, it can change people's lives. So
I think it's amazing. Obviously having fashion and moving into fashion for you being a life-changing moment to then be able to use that to help other people's lives change and get them new confidence is really exciting too. So you also do kind of like personal shopping and other stuff. What are your services more generally?
Okay, so when you don't have to do it in this order. I get a call for the wardrobe thing, and I find it's useful if people do that first because then they actually realize, oh, I don't really need much because you might. And if you do need something, it's quite specific what you do actually need. I do love shopping, so shopping is good too. Whether it's usually an occasion or a workwear or just, some people don't like shopping at all. I can't imagine it, but some people just don't and they find it really stressful. And just having a fresh pair of eyes to bounce things off, and it makes it quick and it makes it more efficient. So shopping. The online thing, I do give, because some people are very time poor. So I have done where I do the research for myself and send links to people. So it's not quite, it's online shopping, but it's not like, I don't know if
You're sourcing.
I'm sourcing, So, and then I am branching into doing talks as well. So this one is a big one for me. I've done talks for the Royal College of Surgeons, Irish Country Women to date, and then this will be my third one. So for motivational speaking, just all about resilience and how change can be good and picking yourself up and starting something new.
Yeah, I think you've talked to me a little bit about, and I know when I went through this as well, that you're kind of a coach as well as a stylist, right? So when you're going through, and maybe you have some examples of other clients that you've worked with where you feel like, kind of before and after, and how you've kind of helped them kind of gain new confidence or change something specific about them through fashion or just general kind of being there and being great.
Well, I think it's like listening is important. I mean, because people say to me, oh, do you go in and just throw everything out? Like, no, you can't do that. And that's not what I'm there for. So you have to listen really carefully to the brief that the person has given you, because I send out a style report. So to push gently, push more if it's willing. You know, it depends on what the wish is, what the person wants to change. So it would be like, yeah, listening and like I said, pushing and maybe making some suggestions. People always say to me about the colour me beautiful thing, but I think that's I think that's a thing of the past a little bit. I think skin tones are so individual, so I'd find it hard to say, well, you shouldn't wear that colour. You know, I'm just not really. I love all colour, so it's really listening and trying to just gently push and advise about shape.
Do you have any particularly difficult clients that you remember that really took a lot more work to kind of get there and get the click moment?
Actually, look, I've only had one.
Okay, tell us a little more.
Difficult.
I always like this.
So
anonymously, of course.
What?
Anonymously, of course.
Anonymously, yeah, no. And her name was?
Lorna.
But no, it's just sometimes people are looking for things that I just can't get, and I think if I don't think that you absolutely shouldn't wear it, I'm not going to say to you, oh, here's exactly what you're looking for. If I think that what you're looking for is something that I would never recommend. So that's happened to me. And I'm thinking, I couldn't just say, I'll source you that and it'll look great on you, because it wouldn't. And so I didn't. I tried to find ways around it. So I found that a bit tricky. Yeah.
And kind of that sequin mini dress is not appropriate for work kind of conversation.
Like that,
I can see how that could happen. And so maybe then, if you're thinking, there's a bunch of people in the room here who are either very interested in MoyaMoya or very interested in fashion, or hopefully both now. When you're thinking about kind of individuals developing their own personal style, and you were talking about the style survey and report that you send out, like what are the things that people should think about in terms of developing their own style and their own voice?
Be conscious of the bits that you like and the bits that you don't, and make the most of the things. And I think fashion, it should be fun. It should be like, no matter whether you like it or not, but we all have to get dressed every day and go out. And you're presenting yourself to the world, whether you want it or whether you just you want to be invisible, you have to do it. So it can be as simple as just a necklace or a scarf or something, because people are going to be watching and they're going to be judging you. It's a terrible word, isn't it? Like judging, feel like you're being judged. But it can be a bit scary, but I mean, we're all just visual people, we're all humans. So you're always going to notice if someone's in a good mood, or someone's hiding, if someone's smiling, so I think it's important to try and have fun with it.
If you find the fashion that makes you feel fun, then the confidence gets exuded.
Or sexy, or whatever it is you want to feel.
Yeah. I think that's all my questions, but we do have quite a full house here. So I do want to open things up to the audience to see if anybody has any questions for you about your journey, about your business, about fashion tips or otherwise.
Hi, thanks very much, Mo. I'm Tony. That was really great. I feel very ashamed to say, but I don't like shopping, and clearly don't care about fashion. I'm wearing a hoodie that I got from work 5 years ago. I'm really curious about how you balance when you're working with clients who are maybe more interested in the functional element versus kind of the fashion side.
Absolutely, yeah.
And specifically, I suppose, thinking of myself here, this is like free consultation.
No problem.
Also, there's a piece around, you talked a little bit about it, and it's very prominent in the news now around fast fashion and folks just going out and saying, I'm going to go buy something for tonight and never wear it again. So I'm really eager in that. And so I'm interested in the function piece, and also trying to be a bit thrifty and frugal, as well as not contributing towards some of the problems we have around fast fashion.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of swap shops and charity shops. I do like vintage things. But the thrifty thing, if I was working with you and you gave me, this is your guideline, I would be trying to figure out functional items that's not going to make you feel like you're in a clown suit, or that you're not yourself. You have to feel like yourself. You have to feel yourself on a good day. You want to feel like yourself on a good day. So Yeah, like I said, so charity, I could give you a list of different brands and places to go. I could source things for you, but I need to know a little bit more about what you want. So, come and do one of the surveys. That's no problem. And they're free, those surveys.
Yeah, they're cool. You go in and you kind of identify, okay, am I a classic dresser? Am I a modern dresser? Am I a minimalist dresser? And I had no clue. I'm schizophrenic.
Yeah.
But then, Mo was able to help me actually source through that and figure out, okay, here's how you make your functional wardrobe with the stuff that you already have in your closet as well, right? So I think that was really important for me. But similarly,
does that answer your question? Well. Does it? Yeah.
So.
Hi there. Thank you so much. That was incredible in terms of what you've been through, and you are so optimistic. My name's Laura. So I have a question around emotional dressing. So my husband gives out to me a lot because I'm an emotional dresser, as you can see. I imagine when you're doing consultations with people, it can get quite personal because the way people dress is also how they feel about themselves and an esteem point of view.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? And how do you manage to not cross over into being somebody's crutch, or having a bit of a therapy session, or is that something that you it just comes with the territory?
I think it comes with the territory. I don't end up having massive ones, but I'm listening, and I'm very sensitive to people's needs and their feelings and things. So, and I like that. I like the psychology of it. Now, I'm not this come and cry on my shoulder kind of person. If people want that, I could direct them, but that's not what I do. But I can listen, and you pick up on the cues. And emotional dressing, that's something I can totally relate to that. I think everyone does that, unless who doesn't do that? And I think because people often say, "But where would I be going in that?" I'm like, well, it doesn't matter where you're going. Go to the shop in your lovely skirt or your heels. So I think just try not to hide too much, and so if I was with you and I felt like you were hiding and not showing yourself a bit, be giving a little gentle push to try something new, or you're wearing a scarf.
That's more cold.
That's cold. Okay.
Cold and comfortable.
Yeah. And comfort is so important. I don't want people to be scared to come, and I think that must be on people's minds. Are going, oh, who's this person? And God, she's going to boss me around. I want, and that's why a lot of my clients come from people meeting me and go, oh, okay, she's okay. And so I think it is a big step.
Hello, thank you so much for the speech, really nice. I would like to know if you did some study or something, so you had the creative part and everything, but did you learn from someone, from somewhere? Because it's really hard to manage, this is the style you should have, and to as well manage the psychological part. So how did you learn all of that? Is it all from you, or did you take some courses? Or
No, I didn't take courses. I guess listening is something that I've always loved doing. And when I was working with Dress for Success, Sonia Lennon, she's an Irish designer, and I did go and speak to her and said, Sonia, should I be doing a course? She was saying, no, not really. If you have an eye, you have an eye. So you can go and study it, but if you have it and you have it, then, so I didn't have to actually study anything. No, so far that hasn't been an issue.
So all your clients are about word of mouth, confidence, and because
fun.
It's really hard if you don't have. I'm really sorry, it's a French way of thinking, but if you don't have a diploma or something, someone can say, okay, I don't know who I'm talking to. So how did you manage to get your first client and your second and your third?
Well, so I'm in business just over a year, so it's word of mouth, and client referrals.
You've been on a couple
shows,
right? Radio shows and TV a few times as well, right?
So I was on Ray Darcy, and I had an article in Image magazine, one in Hot Press, one in the Sunday Business Post. So I forgot that.
Thank you.
It was a great speech. I was trying not to well up because I had a family member with stroke earlier. It was amazing. and congratulations on all the success. I was just wondering, what would you recommend as like top investment pieces for men or women?
Top investment pieces. So, yeah, so again, it's depends on your style. So, top investment pieces, I think a nice coat, suited and booted, you know that expression, that's really important, I think. So make sure you've got a nice, good quality coat and shoes. And then I'd be thinking, you know, like this whole capsule wardrobe thing. Okay, I would be saying one skirt, one pair of trousers, black, one pair of coloured trousers, what have I done? I've done, sorry. Yeah, and then so skirt, trousers, one coloured, jeans, a couple of t-shirts, a couple of maybe one or two jumpers, and a blazer. I'm a big blazer fan. That would be the kind of capsule thing. Depends on which colour you want to inject in it.
Yeah. You kind of mix and match all the neutrals.
Mix
in,
and
right?
yeah, mix and match. And that's why accessories. I love accessories. So I think that just can make an outfit, something that you've worn yesterday, make it look completely different. If you throw on a scarf over it, or a pair of earrings, or a necklace, different shoes, just mix and match what you have. You don't need loads. And people have way too many clothes. And I'm guilty, you know? So it's about how you use them, I think.
Hi, fantastic story. Thank you so much. In terms of, you know, somebody might have an expectation for a particular way of styling, but their fitness or their physique might not support it. And that's a fine line. You know, how do you deal with that, where, you know, you might have an expectation that maybe your body wouldn't support? Are you very direct with your client, or how do you deal with those kind of situations?
So if someone comes to me and they're weight conscious or conscious of their fitness, I'm not going to comment on that at all. I'm just going to find something that's going to make them look the best in their clothes. So no, I would never comment. No, unless they open the conversation and they want, but that's not really my area of expertise, you know. So, I mean, if they wanted me for help, I could probably source some help, but that's my job. I see my job is making them feel as good in what they have. Yeah, and helping them dress according to their shape and make the most of it. Yeah.
So it's very inspiring to hear about your attitude when you woke up after the surgery. Before all of this came into your life, would you have imagined that you would wake up from a surgery like that and have responded the way that you did?
I think there's always been a bit of a fighter in me. I'm not sure I would have been brave enough to embark on this without the absolute huge nudge to do it. If this hadn't happened, I'm not sure I would have done it. I do regret that I didn't follow my instinct a bit more when I was younger. Academically, I was fine, but I always wanted to be a personal stylist. I actually wanted to be a fashion stylist, and I almost went for it, but I kind of chickened out. So, but in my opinion, nothing that you do in life is a waste of time. You learn from everything. All the skills are transferable. They create the person that you are now, so keep learning.
And I suppose you've learned then that the next time that you feel a nudge to do something, you've learned your lesson about
Absolutely.
thinking, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
There's no cats anymore. No.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm part of the disability group that we have here in Google. And it's very interesting, you know, your story. Thank you so much for sharing. And we know that the statistics say that 1 in 4 people during their life will experience some kind of disability. And during this week, we saw how kind of scared, of course, we are that one day we might be the ones. And I think it's very difficult as well for us to know how to support people who have gone through some kind of maybe an illness. And one thing that I think we see in Google, that many people go on sick leaves, be it physical or mental health related sick leaves. And I'm not sure we always know what's the best way to support our colleagues and friends and when they are coming back. So based on your experience, what would be your advice, or what were the things that, let's say, your friends or colleagues, ex-colleagues were helping with?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I hope I'm not deviating too much, but so my husband lost his brother about 4 years ago, and I was quite shocked a little bit by, I found it a little bit surprising that people were just really awkward. They didn't know what to do. And so they wouldn't ask. And I found that kind of a little bit hurtful. And at the same time, you kind of go, and now I understand that people don't always know what's the right thing to do, me included. You know, so I think you can never go wrong with asking somebody. If they don't want to talk, that's fine. But at least you've asked, how are you feeling today? Like, how are you doing? Like, you seem a little bit down, or whether it's mental health or illness or something, I don't think you can ever go wrong by asking. They won't talk if they don't want to, but at least ask.
Hi, I'm gonna flip the question that she asked, more for myself. When you've come back from, life-changing surgery, and you used to be such a, strong, resilient person, and do everything by yourself, and you begin to realize that there's so many things that you need that you can't do for yourself. How did you get round to asking for help?
I didn't really have any choice. I just didn't have a choice. I just had to. So, that's the way it was. And then I think you probably get better at asking for things just because you have to. And most of the time people are willing to help, but I don't want to be this person that they're like, oh God, there's Mo's bringing me again. What does she want this time? I don't want that. So it's really hard. It's an ongoing thing. It's like, oh God, I don't want to have to ask, but I just do. So I usually ask if I really have to. Yeah. And then for people with, you said you're somebody in your family had a stroke. So tapping into the resources available. There's a lot of free resources, but in Ireland it's not that hard to find them. It's really difficult to actually find them. But, so again, I don't have the answer for that, but I had lots of supports. I had people fighting for me and doing those things for me. So having people to ask is really important too.
Thank you guys, really great questions, and thank you, Maureen, for being so vulnerable and open with us and sharing your story. I think I'm certainly still inspired, and I think you've inspired a lot of people in the room here. So let's give Maureen a round of applause.